and a very warm welcome to Fireside Fables. If you're seeking stories that weave tranquility into your night, guiding you gently towards a restful slumber, you found the right place. Here, we embark on journeys not just to distant lands and times, but into the heart of peace and calm itself. So, make yourself comfortable, let the day's worries melt away, and join me by the fireside. Together, we'll explore tales designed to soothe your mind, ease your soul, and escort you into the most peaceful sleep. Tonight, let the flickering flames and the soft cadence of our stories be your sanctuary. Welcome to Fireside Fables, where every tale is a step closer to a calm and serene slumber. In a quaint coastal village nestled along the shores of ancient Greece, where the sun-kissed sands met the gentle lap of the Aegean Sea, there lived a young musician named Theo. Known throughout the land for his extraordinary talent and kind-hearted nature, Theo possessed a unique gift, the ability to weave melodies so soothing and enchanting that they could calm even the most troubled of souls. From a tender age, Theo had been drawn to the power of music. He would spend hours sitting by the shore, his nimble fingers plucking the strings of his lyre as he lost himself in the gentle ebb and flow of the waves. The villagers would often gather around him, drawn by the hypnotic beauty of his songs, finding solace and peace in the midst of their daily struggles. As the years passed, Theo's mastery of his craft only grew. His music became a source of comfort and healing for the people of his village, a balm for the weary hearts and minds of those who toiled under the relentless Mediterranean sun. The soothing notes of his lyre seemed to carry on the gentle breeze, spreading a sense of tranquility and harmony wherever they traveled. One particularly serene evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon and the sky was painted in a breathtaking array of pinks and golds, Theo made his way to his favorite spot by the sea. The sand was still warm beneath his feet, and the salty air filled his lungs with each deep, calming breath. Settling himself upon a weathered rock, Theo took a moment to appreciate the beauty of his surroundings. The distant cry of the seagulls mingled with the gentle whisper of the waves, creating a natural symphony that never failed to inspire him. With a contented sigh, he lifted his lyre and began to play. As his fingers danced across the strings, a hauntingly beautiful melody began to take shape. The notes seemed to shimmer in the air, carried by the gentle breeze as they wove a tapestry of peace and tranquility. Theo closed his eyes, letting the music flow through him, pouring his heart and soul into every chord and phrase. The villagers, drawn by the enchanting sound, began to gather around the shore, their faces softening as the soothing melodies washed over them. Some closed their eyes, letting the music transport them to a place of serenity and calm, while others swayed gently to the rhythm, their worries and cares melting away in the face of such beauty. As the night wore on, and the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Theo continued to play, his music a gentle lullaby for the weary souls of his village. The world seemed to slow down, the troubles of the day fading into the background as the soothing notes of his lyre filled the air. Little did Theo know that his gift was about to lead him on a journey beyond anything he could have ever imagined, a journey that would test his compassion, his courage, and his unwavering belief in the power of music to heal even the most fractured of hearts. For as he played on, lost in the serenity of the moment, the whispers of the sirens began to call to him from across the waves, their voices a haunting echo of the destiny that awaited him. As Theo's fingers continued to dance across the strings of his lyre, weaving a melodic tapestry of peace and tranquility, a strange and wondrous thing began to happen. At first, it was barely noticeable, a faint whisper carried on the evening breeze, so soft that it could easily have been mistaken for the rustle of leaves or the distant cry of a seabird. But as Theo played on, lost in the beauty of his own creation, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to harmonize with his music, blending seamlessly with the soothing notes of his lyre until it was almost impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. Gradually, as if drawn by some invisible force, Theo's gaze was pulled towards the sea. There, in the silvery moonlight that danced upon the waves, he saw them, the sirens, their ethereal forms rising from the depths like a vision from a dream. Their beauty was beyond anything Theo had ever seen. With skin as pale as moonlight and hair that shimmered like spun gold, they moved with a grace that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. But it was their voices that truly captivated him, a haunting, melodic sound that seemed to speak directly to his soul. As the sirens drew closer, their voices grew louder, entwining with Theo's music in a symphony of enchantment. Their song spoke of ancient secrets and hidden truths, of the joys and sorrows of the world above and the mysteries that lurked beneath the waves. Theo found himself transfixed, his fingers moving of their own accord as he lost himself in the siren's song. The world around him seemed to fade away, the concerns of the day-to-day giving way to a sense of wonder and awe that he had never before experienced. As the sirens approached the shore, their eyes locked with Theo's, and in that moment he understood. These were no ordinary creatures, they were beings of myth and legend, imbued with a power and wisdom that stretched back to the very dawn of time. With a gentleness that belied their reputation, the sirens began to speak, their voices a soothing balm to Theo's soul. They spoke of their own struggles, of the weight of centuries that hung heavy upon their shoulders. They spoke of their desire for peace, for a release from the burden of their own legend. As Theo listened, his heart swelled with compassion. He saw in the sirens a reflection of his own yearning for connection, for a sense of purpose that went beyond the simple joys and sorrows of everyday life. And so, as the night wore on and the stars danced overhead, Theo and the sirens continued to commune, their voices and their music intertwining in a symphony of understanding. The soothing melodies that flowed from Theo's lyre seemed to take on a new depth, a new resonance, as if imbued with the wisdom and the magic of the ages. As the first light of dawn began to paint the horizon in hues of pink and gold, the sirens began to withdraw, their forms fading back into the mists from whence they had come. But their voices lingered, a haunting echo that would stay with Theo for the rest of his days. For he knew, with a certainty that defied explanation, that his life would never be the same. The song of the sirens had awakened something within him, a sense of purpose, a calling that he could not ignore. And so, as the sun rose over the Aegean Sea and the world began to stir, Theo set out on a journey that would test his courage, his compassion, and his unwavering belief in the power of music to heal even the most troubled of souls. The whispers of the sirens had set him on a path that would lead him to the very heart of myth and legend, and to a destiny that would echo through the ages. As the sun climbed higher into the sky, and the people of the village began to go about their daily lives, Theo found himself lost in thought, his mind still reeling from the events of the previous night. The encounter with the sirens had left an indelible mark upon his soul, a sense of purpose that he could not shake. He wandered along the shore, his feet sinking into the soft sand as he replayed the sirens' words over and over in his mind. Their tales of ancient conflicts and long-forgotten battles, of the endless cycle of destruction that threatened to consume the world, it all seemed too vast, too overwhelming for a simple musician from a small coastal village. But then, as if summoned by his very thoughts, the sirens appeared once more, their ethereal forms shimmering in the bright sunlight. They approached Theo with a sense of urgency, their voices carrying a new weight, a new intensity, Theo, they sang, their voices a haunting melody that seemed to penetrate his very soul. We come to you in our hour of need, seeking the aid of one whose heart is pure and whose music holds the power to heal. Theo listened intently as the sirens began to reveal the true nature of their plight. They spoke of rival factions, powerful groups who sought to control the sirens and harness their magic for their own gain. These factions, the sirens explained, were locked in a bitter struggle for dominance over the Mediterranean, a conflict that threatened to tear the very fabric of the world asunder. For centuries, we have been caught in the middle of this endless war, the sirens lamented, their voices heavy with sorrow. Used as weapons, as tools of destruction, our voices have brought nothing but pain and suffering to the world. As Theo listened, his heart filled with compassion. He saw in the sirens a reflection of his own desire for peace, for a world free from the ravages of conflict and strife. And in that moment, he knew that he could not turn away, that he must use his gift to help in whatever way he could. "What can I do?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. How can a simple musician hope to end a conflict that has raged for centuries? The sirens smiled, their eyes filled with a gentle wisdom that seemed to stretch back to the very dawn of time. "Your music, Theo," they sang. "Your music holds the key. Within your melodies lies the power to soothe even the most troubled of hearts, to bring peace to those consumed by anger and hatred." They implored Theo to create a special composition, a melody imbued with the magic of the sirens themselves. This song, they believed, would have the power to calm the raging tensions between the factions, to bring them to the negotiating table and pave the way for lasting peace. Theo felt a sense of awe and humility wash over him. To be entrusted with such a task, to be given the opportunity to use his music for a purpose greater than himself, it was a responsibility that both thrilled and terrified him. But as he looked into the eyes of the sirens, he saw there a flicker of hope, a belief in the power of compassion and understanding to triumph over even the darkest of forces. And in that moment, he knew that he could not refuse. "I will do it," he said, his voice filled with a quiet determination. "I will create a melody that will bring peace to the factions and give hope to all who hear it." The sirens smiled, their voices rising in a joyous chorus that seemed to fill the very air with light. And as they began to fade back into the mists, their forms shimmering like a mirage in the desert heat, Theo knew that his true journey was only just beginning. For in the days and weeks to come, he would pour his heart and soul into his music, crafting a melody that would become a beacon of hope for all who heard it. And though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and dangers untold, Theo knew that he would face them all with courage and resolve. For he was no longer just a simple musician from a small coastal village. He was a bringer of peace, a herald of hope, and the fate of the world rested upon his shoulders. As Theo immersed himself in the creation of his transformative melody, the world around him began to shift and change, as if in response to the power of his music. The once peaceful village buzzed with a new energy, a sense of anticipation that hung heavy in the air, like the promise of a coming storm. Whispers began to spread, rumors of the young musician who communed with the sirens, whose melodies held the power to sway the hearts of even the most hardened warriors. Some spoke of Theo with reverence, seeing in him a beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness. Others viewed him with suspicion, fearful of the strange magic that seemed to follow in his wake. As the days turned to weeks, and the weeks to months, Theo remained focused on his task, pouring every ounce of his creativity and passion into the crafting of his song. He worked tirelessly, his fingers dancing across the strings of his lyre as he wove together melodies of breathtaking beauty and complexity. But even as he lost himself in his music, The world beyond the borders of his village continued to turn, the gears of fate grinding inexorably onward. The rival factions, once content to wage their wars in secret, began to take notice of the strange happenings in Theo's corner of the world. Spies and informants brought back tales of the musician who could commune with the sirens, whose music held the power to change the course of history. The leaders of the factions, once dismissive of such tales, began to see in Theo a potential weapon, a tool to be used in their endless quest for power and dominion. And so, as the sun rose one fateful morning, a group of emissaries from each of the factions made their way to Theo's village, their hearts filled with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. They came bearing gifts and promises, each seeking to sway the young musician to their cause. Theo, lost in his music, was taken aback by the sudden influx of visitors. He listened with growing unease as the emissaries made their pitches, promising him wealth, power, and glory beyond his wildest dreams. They spoke of the great battles to come, of the chance to shape the course of history and leave an indelible mark upon the world. But even as they spoke, Theo could sense the emptiness behind their words, the hollow promises of those who sought only to use him for their own gain. He saw in their eyes the same hunger for power that had consumed the factions for generations, the same cycle of violence and destruction that had brought nothing but suffering to the world. And so, with a heavy heart, Theo turned away from their offers, his voice filled with quiet conviction as he spoke. "I am a musician," he said, "not a weapon. My music is meant to heal, not to harm. I cannot be a part of your wars, your endless quest for dominion over others." The emissaries, taken aback by his words, tried to argue, to convince him of the righteousness of their cause. But Theo remained steadfast, his eyes filled with a quiet determination that seemed to radiate from his very soul. "I will create my song," he said, "and I will share it with the world. But I will do so on my own terms, not as a pawn in your games of power and control." And with that, he turned away, leaving the emissaries to depart in silence, their hearts filled with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. As the sun began to set over the horizon, Theo returned to his music, his mind filled with a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult, that the forces arrayed against him were vast and powerful. But he also knew that he could not turn away, that he had been given a gift, a chance to make a real difference in the world. And so, as the night sky filled with stars and the world around him grew still, Theo poured his heart and soul into his music, crafting a melody that would become a beacon of hope for all who heard it. For he knew that, in the end, it was not the power of armies or the machinations of politicians that would shape the course of history. It was the power of the human spirit, the ability to connect with one another on a level that transcended the boundaries of language and culture. And in that moment, as his fingers danced across the strings of his lyre and his voice rose in a haunting melody that seemed to fill the very air with light, Theo knew that he had found his true calling. He was a bringer of peace, a herald of hope, and nothing, not even the gathering storm that loomed on the horizon, could stand in his way. As the dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Theo emerged from his dwelling, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, but his heart filled with a sense of triumph. In his hands, he held a simple scroll, the parchment worn and weathered from the long hours he had spent hunched over it, pouring his heart and soul into the creation of his masterpiece. The melody that flowed from the pages was unlike anything the world had ever seen, a haunting and beautiful composition that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Every note, every chord, was imbued with the power of the sirens themselves, a magic that could soothe even the most troubled of hearts and bring peace to those consumed by anger and hatred. As Theo made his way down to the shore, the sirens appeared before him, their ethereal forms shimmering in the early morning light. They looked upon the scroll in his hands with a mixture of awe and reverence, their voices rising in a joyous chorus as they beheld the fruit of his labors. "You have done it," they sang, their voices filled with wonder. "You have created a melody that will change the world, a song that will bring hope to all who hear it." Theo smiled, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. He knew that he could not have done it without the guidance and support of the sirens, without the wisdom and magic they had shared with him. Together, they set out across the waves, the sirens' voices rising in harmony with Theo's melody as they made their way towards the heart of the conflict, towards the rival factions that had threatened to tear the world asunder. As they approached the shores of the first faction, Theo felt a sense of trepidation wash over him. He knew that the leaders of these groups were not to be trifled with, that they were hardened warriors and cunning politicians who would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. But as he looked to the sirens at his side, he felt a renewed sense of courage and determination. He knew that, together, they could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle. And so, with a deep breath and a steadying hand, Theo stepped forward, his lyre held high as he began to play the opening notes of his song. The melody washed over the assembled crowd like a gentle wave, the haunting beauty of the sirens' voices intertwining with the delicate plucking of Theo's strings. At first, the leaders of the faction looked upon the display with skepticism and disdain, their hearts hardened by years of war and conflict. But as the music continued to play, as the notes danced and swirled around them like leaves on the wind, something began to change. Their faces softened, the hard lines of anger and hatred smoothing into expressions of wonder and awe. They felt the music wash over them like a balm, soothing the wounds of the past and filling their hearts with a sense of peace and tranquility they had never known before. And as the final notes of the song faded away, as the last echoes of the sirens' voices drifted on the wind, the leaders of the faction stepped forward, their eyes filled with tears and their hearts overflowing with gratitude. "Thank you," they whispered, their voices hoarse with emotion. "Thank you for showing us the way, for reminding us of the beauty and the power of peace." Theo smiled, his own eyes brimming with tears as he beheld the transformation that had taken place. He knew that there was still much work to be done, that the road to lasting peace would be long and difficult. But in that moment, as he stood surrounded by the sirens and the leaders of the faction, he felt a sense of hope and purpose that he had never known before. He knew that, together, they could change the world, that they could bring an end to the cycle of violence and destruction that had consumed the Mediterranean for so long. And so, with a renewed sense of determination and a heart full of hope, Theo set out once more, ready to bring his message of peace to the remaining factions, to the entire world. The siren's song had given him the strength and the courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and he knew that, no matter what, he would never stop fighting for the cause of peace and unity. For he was a bringer of hope, a herald of change, and the world would never be the same again. As Theo and the sirens journeyed from faction to faction, the power of their music continued to work its magic, softening even the hardest of hearts and bringing a newfound sense of unity and purpose to the once divided lands. The melody that Theo had created, imbued with the wisdom and magic of the sirens, became a symbol of hope and renewal, a beacon of light in a world that had been too long shrouded in darkness. At each stop along their journey, Theo and the sirens were greeted with a mix of wonder and reverence, the people of the factions marveling at the strange and beautiful sight of the ethereal beings walking among them. The sirens, once feared and reviled as harbingers of death and destruction, were now welcomed as bringers of peace and harmony, their voices a soothing balm to the weary souls of all who heard them. And Theo, the humble musician from the small coastal village, found himself at the center of it all, his name spoken with awe and admiration by people from all walks of life. He had become a symbol of hope and unity, a living embodiment of the power of music to bring people together and heal even the deepest of wounds. As the days turned to weeks and the weeks to months, the rival factions began to come together, their leaders meeting in grand councils and forums to discuss the future of their lands. The once bitter enemies found themselves united by a common purpose, their hearts and minds opened by the power of Theo's music and the wisdom of the sirens. They spoke of the need for cooperation and understanding, of the importance of setting aside their differences and working together for the greater good. They negotiated treaties and agreements, forging new alliances and partnerships that would lay the foundation for a lasting peace. And through it all, Theo and the sirens remained at the center of the transformation, their music a constant presence in the halls of power and the hearts of the people. They played for the leaders of the factions, their melodies weaving a tapestry of harmony and unity that helped to guide the negotiations and bring about a new era of cooperation and understanding. As the final agreements were signed and the last of the treaties ratified, a great celebration swept across the land, the people of the factions coming together in a joyous festival of music and dance. Theo and the sirens were the guests of honor, their presence a symbol of the newfound peace and unity that had taken root in the hearts of all who had heard their song. And as the festivities reached their peak, as the music and laughter echoed across the land, Theo found himself filled with a sense of profound gratitude and humility. He knew that he had been blessed with a great gift, a chance to make a real difference in the world and bring hope to those who had lost their way. But he also knew that he could not have done it alone, that it was the love and support of the sirens and the open hearts and minds of the people of the factions that had made it all possible. Together, they had shown the world that even the deepest of divisions could be healed, that even the most intractable of conflicts could be resolved through the power of compassion and understanding. As the celebration drew to a close, and the people of the factions began to make their way back to their homes, Theo and the sirens bid them farewell, their hearts full of joy and their spirits lifted by the knowledge of all that had been accomplished. They knew that there would be challenges ahead, that the road to lasting peace was a long and winding one. But they also knew that they had laid the foundation for a brighter future, that they had shown the world that anything was possible when people came together in a spirit of love and unity. And so, as they set out once more across the waves, their voices raised in a joyous chorus of hope and celebration, Theo and the sirens knew that they had been a part of something truly special, something that would be remembered and celebrated for generations to come. For they were the bringers of peace, the heralds of a new age, and the world would forever be grateful for the gift of their music and the magic of their presence. As the years passed and the world continued to change and grow, the story of Theo and the sirens became the stuff of legend, a tale passed down from generation to generation as a reminder of the power of music and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The once divided lands of the Mediterranean flourished under the new era of peace and cooperation, the people of the factions working together to build a brighter future for all. Theo, now an old man with a long white beard and a twinkle in his eye, watched it all with a sense of pride and contentment. He had lived a long and fruitful life, his music touching the hearts of countless people and bringing hope and healing to those in need. He had seen the world transformed by the power of his melody, and he knew that his legacy would endure long after he was gone. Despite his age, Theo never lost his love for music, and he could often be found sitting by the shore, his fingers dancing across the strings of his lyre as he played the songs that had become a part of him. The people of the land would gather around him, young and old alike, to listen to his melodies and bask in the warmth of his presence. And always, the sirens were there, their ethereal forms shimmering in the sunlight as they joined their voices with Theo's in a haunting chorus of beauty and grace. They had become a part of the land, a symbol of the peace and unity that had been forged through the power of their song. As Theo played, he would often think back to the days of his youth, to the challenges and triumphs that had shaped his life and the lives of those around him. He remembered the fear and uncertainty that had gripped the land, the bitter conflicts that had threatened to tear the world asunder. But he also remembered the courage and determination that had seen them through, the love and compassion that had brought people together and healed even the deepest of wounds. He knew that it was these things, these simple, powerful, human things that would always endure, no matter what challenges the future might bring. And so, as the sun began to set over the horizon and the stars emerged in the darkening sky, Theo would play on, his music a reminder of all that had been accomplished and all that was still to come. He knew that his time on earth was drawing to a close, but he also knew that his legacy would live on, carried forward by the countless lives he had touched and the countless hearts he had inspired. For Theo, there was no greater gift than this, the knowledge that his music had made a difference, that his life had been a blessing to those around him. And as he looked out over the peaceful lands of the Mediterranean, he knew that he could rest easy, secure in the knowledge that the world was a better place for having known him. Years turned to decades, and decades to centuries, but the legend of Theo and the sirens never faded. Their story was told and retold, passed down from parent to child as a reminder of the power of hope and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And though the world continued to change and grow, the legacy of their music and their love endured, a shining beacon of light in a world that would always need its warmth and guidance. For Theo and the sirens had shown the world that peace was possible, that even the deepest of divisions could be healed through the power of compassion and understanding. And as long as their story was remembered, as long as their music continued to echo through the ages, the world would always have a reminder of the beauty and the wonder that lay waiting to be discovered in the hearts of all who dared to dream. As the sun dipped below the horizon on a warm, tranquil evening, a hush fell over the coastal village where Theo had spent his final years. The old musician lay in his bed, his once lively eyes now closed, his chest rising and falling with each shallow breath. Around him, the sirens gathered, their ethereal forms casting a soft, comforting glow in the dimly lit room. They had come to bid their old friend farewell, to sing him one last lullaby as he drifted off into the eternal slumber. Their voices, soft and soothing, filled the air with a melody of love and gratitude, a song of thanks for all that Theo had done and all that he had been. As they sang, the sirens could feel the weight of Theo's legacy hanging in the air, the countless lives he had touched and the countless hearts he had inspired. They knew that his music would live on, carried forward by the generations yet to come, a never-ending symphony of hope and healing. And as the final notes of their lullaby faded away and Theo drew his last breath, the sirens knew that he was at peace, his spirit forever intertwined with the music he had loved so dearly. Word of Theo's passing spread quickly, and people from all corners of the land came to pay their respects. They came from the once warring factions, now united in their grief and their gratitude, to honor the man who had brought them together and shown them the path to lasting peace. They laid flowers at his doorstep, sang songs of remembrance and celebration, and shared stories of the ways in which Theo's music had touched their lives. And though their hearts were heavy with sorrow, they knew that Theo's legacy would endure, a shining beacon of hope in a world that would always need its light. As the days turned to weeks and the weeks to months, the people of the land continued to honor Theo's memory in their own special ways. They composed new songs and wrote new stories, each one a tribute to the man who had shown them the power of music to heal and to unite. They built monuments in his honor, great works of art and architecture that would stand as a testament to his life and his legacy. And they passed down his teachings to their children and their children's children, ensuring that the lessons of compassion, unity, and hope would never be forgotten. Years passed, and the world continued to change and grow, but the legend of Theo and the sirens remained a constant, a source of comfort and inspiration for all who heard it. And though the old musician was gone, his spirit lived on in the hearts and minds of all who had known him, a guiding light in a world that would always need its warmth and wisdom. For Theo had shown them that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope, always a reason to believe in the goodness of the human spirit. And as long as his music continued to play, as long as his story continued to be told, the world would always have a reminder of the beauty and the wonder that lay waiting to be discovered in the hearts of all who dared to dream. And so, as the sun rose on a new day and the people of the land went about their lives, they did so with a renewed sense of purpose and a deep appreciation for the gift of music and the power of love. They knew that Theo's legacy would endure, a never-ending song of hope and healing that would guide them through the ages and lead them ever closer to the light. For in the end, that was Theo's greatest gift to the world, not just his music, but his unwavering belief in the goodness of the human heart and the unbreakable bonds of love and compassion. And as long as that belief remained, as long as his eternal song continued to play, the world would always have a reason to hope, to dream, and to believe in the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for allowing Fireside Fables to be a part of your journey tonight. We hope our story has gently guided you to the gates of dreamland, wrapping you in the comfort of tales told by the fireside's warm glow. For those of you who might still be seeking the embrace of sleep, stay with us a little longer. A calm, meditative peace will follow shortly, designed to ease you into a restful slumber under the watchful care of the night's peaceful embrace. Remember, the path to dreamland is always here, lit by the soft light of our fireside tales. May you find tranquility, peace, and the sweetest of dreams. Until next time, good night, and let the gentle rhythm of the night cradle you to sleep. Close your eyes and settle into a comfortable position. Whether you're lying down or seated, allow your body to relax completely. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with air, and then gently exhale, releasing all the tension from your body. This meditation will guide you into a deep, restful sleep. As you follow along, let my words be the gentle waves that guide you into the peaceful embrace of slumber. Begin by focusing on your breath. Feel the natural rhythm of your inhale and exhale. With every breath, imagine a wave of relaxation sweeping over your body. Starting from the top of your head, let this wave of calm flow down to your toes, relaxing each part of your body one by one. Now, bring your attention to your mind. Visualize your thoughts like leaves floating on a gentle stream, drifting further away with each breath. There's nothing for you to do right now, nowhere you need to be, except right here in this moment of peace. As your body sinks deeper into relaxation, imagine a soft, warm light enveloping you. This light brings with it a deep sense of calm, filling every corner of your being. With each breath, this light grows brighter, your body feeling lighter. It's now time to let go completely. Your serene place is here to cradle you into deep sleep. With every breath, feel yourself drifting further into this haven of peace. You are safe, you are loved, and you are embraced by the gentle arms of sleep. As my voice fades away, let the calmness and peace you feel guide you into a deep, restful sleep. Your body knows what it needs, and it's time to surrender to the soothing rhythm of your breath, to the quiet of your mind, and to the warmth of your peaceful place. Release all hold on consciousness and allow yourself to sink into the depths of sleep. Here, in this space, healing and rejuvenation happen effortlessly. Let go and let sleep envelop you in its comforting embrace.